given to slaves omitted most of the Old Testament. The so-called slave Bible told of Joseph's enslavement, but left out the parts where Moses led the Israelites to freedom. When slavery was legal, its proponents often justified it with the Bible, specifically a verse that tells servants to obey their masters. Most of the Old Testament is missing, and only about half of the New Testament remains. The reason? So that the enslaved Africans in the Caribbean islands of Jamaica, Barbados, and Antigua couldn't read or be read anything that might incite them to rebel. The slave Bible was actually titled Parts of the Holy Bible, selected for the use of the Negro slaves in the British West India Islands, and could have demanded that they only teach enslaved people certain parts of the Bible. But some missionaries may have also believed that it was only appropriate to teach enslaved people excerpts that reinforced their enslaved status. Whoever the slave Bible's editors were, they're really highlighting portions that would instill obedience, says Anthony Schmidt, a curator at Washington, D.C. Museum of the Bible, which has a copy of the slave Bible on display. The first slave Bible was published in 1807, 3 years after the Haitian Revolution ended. That revolution was the only slave revolt in history in which enslaved people successfully drove out their European oppressors to form a new nation, and it increased American and European paranoia that the people they oppressed would one day rise up against them. The Haitian Revolution could have been a motivation for publishing a Bible without the part where Moses tells the Pharaoh to let my people go. Missionaries and planters may have thought that Christianity, at least certain parts of it, would protect against revolutions by teaching enslaved people to respect their masters. The British may have thought that teaching enslaved people biblical lesson about obedience and accepting one's fate would help them be better slaves. The slave Bible doesn't include Moses leading the Israelites to freedom, but it does include Joseph's enslavement in Egypt. In the U.S., some sermons aimed at enslaved people portray Joseph as someone who accepts his lot in life, keeps his faith in God, and in the end is rewarded for it. The slave Bible may have wanted to impart a similar lesson to its audience. Passages that emphasized equality between groups of people were also excised. Slave Bible also doesn't contain the book of Revelation, which tells of a new heaven and earth in which evil will be punished. In contrast, one of the passages that remained was one that proponents of slavery love to cite: "Servants, be obedient to them that are your masters according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, and singleness of your heart, as unto Christ."
You studied your history, and you did not take over this country by singing "We Shall Overcome." You did not gain control of the world like you have it now by dealing fairly with a man and keeping your word. You're treaty breakers, you're liars, you're thieves, you rape entire continents and races of people. Then you wonder why these very people don't have any confidence or trust in you. Your religion means nothing. Your law is a farce, and we see it every day. You demonstrated it in Alabama, and I can say you because you're part of the whole system. You profit from it. In fact, you make your living from it. You couldn't walk around and talk to people, stand up in your pulpit on Sunday and preach nice little songs and say, "Now we're going to give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, and old Jesus be among us." As far as we're concerned, your Jesus is contaminated, just like everything else you tried to force upon us is contaminated. Well, so you can have him. And here's what I'll say: I wish you would follow Jesus like we followed him. Because if you did that, then we'd be in charge tomorrow.
I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahawah, BaHa, YAHAWASHI, BaHa, RAWCHAA, QADASH, and double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of Great Millstone. Honors as well to you brethren, you fellow followers and believers of this faith, and shalom to the elect. I was inspired to go back into this topic on the Bible being set up, pulled apart, and put back together and given to us, and to show that through all of this we happen to be the only people who are willing to save everyone except ourselves. Right? This is clear. We're the only people. And then there's a lot of videos surfacing, I'm noticing, that all the concern is with what happened with white slavery. I didn't know there was white slaves. I didn't know this. I didn't know that. This was beyond slavery, what happened to us. Most of these other nations have an inheritance. We had our inheritance taken, our lands taken, our nationality beaten out of us. We were lynched. We were hung. We were raped, men, women, and children. We were sold and prostituted. All right, anything that you can almost imagine that was done, and the Native Americans cutting off their heads, you know, and they love soccer now, and that's what they were doing. So this is the anger and the wrath of the Lord. So how do you know who's the real biblical people? There's all kind of videos saying that those people in the land, that they are the chosen because prophecies are coming forth, and the Gentiles shall carry their children, and they're allowed to say that. Now, if we say the Gentiles, the heathens, will carry our children into our land, the nurse, I believe Isaiah 49, they would deem us hateful. But they're allowed to do that. They're allowed to say that. So how do you know who the children of Israel are? The ones that are oppressed, the ones that want to save everybody except themselves. And let's say that other nations jump in and claim they want to save us, they care about us, our well-being. Well, they're looking from the top down. They're going to reap the benefits of you converting over to their religion. Right? Plantation Christianity. So anyway, I'm going to read this article. This says the oldest known black Hebrew organization is the Church of the Living God. It's not that one. That was going back to 1886. So this is clear when you really look at it in a nutshell. Who are the children of Israel? Just look at us, right? This is called the abridged, I believe that's how it's pronounced, slave Bible, which I saw some of this and read some of it. It had footnotes and how to break slaves and convert them. That's another video. Remove passages that might encourage uprisings. So it says, when the 19th century British missionaries arrived in the Caribbean, which we saw in the intro, to convert Africans, they came armed with heavily edited version of the Bible, and passages that might incite rebellion was removed and gone. See, this is more than passages that might incite rebellion. It's passages that they're afraid of that we might read and we might recognize. All of these things, as Ecclesiastes 1:9 says, there's no new thing under the sun. So when you have Christians say black Hebrew Israelites, Deuteronomy 28:68, Deuteronomy the 28th chapter, that we see things in 70 AD. Even before that, we can see and identify this would have to be us. And this was a people, as the scripture says, robbed and spoiled and snared in prison houses. All these plantations as well, right? So it says, for instance, was reference to the Exodus enslaved Israelites from Egypt. Today, just 3 copies of the so-called slave Bible are known to exist. 2 are held in the United Kingdom, and the one is currently on view at the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. By Michael Martin. It says the abridged work was first. Let me see what this says first. First, I had to look up this word abridged. It means to be cut short, right? Work was printed in London in 1807, right, on behalf of the Society for the Conversion of the Negro Slaves. The missionaries associated with this movement sought to teach enslaved Africans to read, with the ultimate goal of introducing to them Christianity. But they had to be careful not to run afoul of farmers who were about to revolutionize the revolutionary implications of educating their enslaved workforce. the British West Indies Islands, modern-day Jamaica, Barbados, and Antigua, right, Antigua, Antigua formed the heart of England's overseers empires after all, and it was powered by millions of enslaved Africans forced to work on the sugar plantations. We know Jamaica didn't have the J at one time. It was called Jamaica. I'm not going to read all this, but I just wanted to read a couple of things. It says, they removed 60, it was 73 books in the Orthodox translations, 78 books, right? You know, with the Roman Catholics and all that. And this is all the time when you had the Reformation as well. It said what was gone was Jeremiah 23, 22 and 13. Woe unto him that buildeth a house by unrighteousness. Now, why would they remove that? It seems like there's some guilt there, and they knew. Why did they remove the book of Revelation? See, they knew who we were. So all this about Frank Cherry and William S. Crowley, they brought the Israelites, brought the teachings of the doctrines. It was just real simple. They tried to beat it out of us, and some of us wanted to keep it. It says, and the chambers by wrong that useth neighbor's services without wages and giveth him to work. Exodus 21 and 16. And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. Now, I wonder why they want to, and this is why we get it where a lot of people say that the Bible was forced on us and they made us read it. No, if this was a legitimate book that was created or that was made in general, nothing would have had to been taken out. That's the key. Because do you think the white man, when he created this Bible, wouldn't he had created it exactly like that? Why did he take Revelation out, most of the Old Testament out? I believe Genesis 9 and 6, the man that still sheds one blood, Numbers 35, 33, all those had to be taken out. Why did they do that? If it was the white man's book, you think he would have printed that in the first place? It was definitely a tool used to enslave us. And those very people who supported it and funded it, we know who they are. The Revelation 2 and 9ers. They're the ones funded it. Obviously, they're a portion of why this Bible was the slave Bible. This is exactly why they don't have the New Testament in there. Because they're keeping the masteries, so to speak, of the writings of the old slave Bible. Now, we know as to be the Torah, but why did they take everything out? Revelation 22 and 18 and 19. You're not supposed to take anything out. Here's why they're afraid. Ecclesiastes 3 and 15. That which has been is now, and that which is to be have already been, and Yahawah requireth that which is past. So yes. So now this is why they're trying to make up these false prophecies, these false Bible events. See, when anytime somebody creates or reenact a biblical event and say that people are coming over to their land and bringing them, the Gentiles is coming over and we must flow unto them, you know damn well they ain't got a Negro in mind to get on a ship and flow over to that land. And what Negro is going to actually do that? Or Native American? And then the thing about it, they'll have, they just claim they found another tribe of a Gentile. They get them silly Elams, right? And say that they're a lost people that is willing to come and bow down. When nobody reads history, that's how simple people are. They don't know how that land got established, right? But these people will say they're all God-fearing and they believe in God. But they're allowed to do and say the things that they say. Isaiah 14:1, for the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. Right? And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. Right? So, what is this prophecy? Are these people claiming that they're the people of God because the Most High didn't set them in their own land? Right? The Most High didn't set them there. They took it. Set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. You're going to have Israelites cleaving to one another. Right? You're going to have different looking Israelites. You're going to have different, different types of Israelites. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them, okay, in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. I wonder why they don't read this. Because the Christians will feel this is too harsh. But the Christians will never say, when they read this out of the Torah, that they claim is talking to them, but nobody has nothing to say. You see how everybody is not real when it comes to the scriptures? Why aren't they reading that? And they shall take them captives, who captives they were. So who is this talking about? And they shall rule over their oppressors. And this is what they're afraid of. We are those biblical Israelites, is us. You can say, oh, that's going back to Babylon. But whatever reason they read stuff and say it's a future event, nobody has a problem with it. Let's get more proof. Joel, we ain't got to get Deuteronomy 28 and 48 that says the yoke of iron upon thy neck, which proves it never happened to them, or the slave ships, which they claim we offer ourselves up. Even the old translations never said that. Joel 3. You know, universalism was the greater cause of the good to reach the church and the people, to bring in the money, right? Joel 3 and 1. For behold, the days, in those days, and in that time when I shall bring the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, right? And I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Yahweh's judgment. And this is beautiful because the Lord will make them think it's talking about them. And will plead with them there for my people and my heritage Israel. So when they read this, they're saying, yeah, this is talking about us. We're going to win the fight. Nope. That's why he didn't allow you to believe in the Messiah. But a lot of them are trying to believe in that and bring that to them. It says, whom they have scattered among the nations in part of my land. We can read that in Isaiah 11. Deuteronomy 28:64. Wait a minute. How, if we're all parted as Israelites, how are one people claiming to be Israelites stuck in one land that was put there and pushed themselves to be there? What happened? What happened to all the other Israelites? And what about the Ethiopian Jew and the other ones, the other so-called black Igbo Jews? Are you going to say the same thing about them? Verse 3, it says, and they have cast lots for my people and given a boy for a harlot. So all these things that happened in slavery, they don't want to be accounted for. This is why they had to rip it all out. If you read that slave Bible, the Protestants, they were all so-called racists. The evangelicals, all of them set up the scenario to enslave Israelites because they knew what we read. They knew that we were the Jews. They already knew. They already knew. Them top elites, the top ones, the smart ones, they know. They just don't tell you lower level tier ones in any of the truth. In fact, our own people don't even believe it. Because you're wondering why we're in this condition that we're in. But anyway, I just wanted to touch on that. I just thought this was pretty interesting about this slave Bible. And even though they put the books back into the Bible, it's still a slave Bible to many, you know, in the Christian church with the Jew and the Greek, male or female, you're all one in YAHAWASHI, even though The all, when you go back to Romans 1, he was talking only the Israelites, which we've done videos on that. Anyway, that's all I have on that. Shalom.